Another episode of Seat at the Table with Apostle and Evangelist. Listen, we've been talking about it. We've been dealing with. Uh, we've been talking. We've been dealing with subject. Rewrite your story. Also, this afternoon we've been looking at a topic I started, and I was looking at the fact of not allowing ourselves to be molded by anybody or letting anybody take and mold us by anything, by allowing ourselves to be put in anybody's mold. A lot of times people put us in all of these different types of molds and shape us by all types of things and find ourselves in all types of shapes because we give people the opportunity, we give people the power, we allow people to put us in various positions to take over us, to put us in, let's just say they mold us into what they feel is best for us instead of ourselves being the person that actually began to control what actually goes on. So when we look at rewriting, when we look at taking the opportunity to put ourselves in position to be able to build our own life, to be able to move in the direction that we should go in, to put ourselves at a strength for ourselves, to not allow. Now it's all right. Let me back up just a little bit. It's okay that people add to us. It's okay that people give us some direction. It's okay to have people to advise us. It's okay that people give us some guidance. But it's another thing when you allow somebody else to be the builder on your house, unless you have a contractor and you have no involvement at all. Unless you have somebody that has totally designed the whole house for you because you have given them the full right to be the full architect, full designer of, hey, Tony, what's going on, cuz? But at the end of the day, you should have some input on how the design of the house is going to be, what the layout's going to be, where you're going to have it at, what's going to take place, and how the rooms are going to look, the size of the rooms, how many square foot is going to be, where it's going to be built at, what the roof is going to look like, whether you're going to have a gable roof, a flat roof, or whatever. You're going to have, a living room, a family room, great room, whether, how much room you're going to have in the bedroom. Is the master bedroom going to have, its own bathroom? Is it going to be a master bedroom or a master suite? Is it going to have, a walk-in closet, a standard closet? So even in your life, you got to be able to be the designer of how things are going to go. Your mentality, your emotions, your affections. You should be able to master and control what you feel and how you feel it instead of somebody being the construct of what you feel, the way you feel, telling you this is what you're feeling, this is why you're feeling it, this is the purpose of what you should be feeling it. And, especially when you have somebody in the guise of taking you to when I say the guys, GUISE, they're telling you, you should be a girl when you're a guy. You should be a guy when you're a girl. They're telling you this is the feelings that you have. They're guiding you in what you're going through, and this is why you should feel that way. Or you've been in a marriage so long, and they're guiding you because you're mixed up. You're going through this terrible emotional state, or you're a child, and somebody trying to govern you into becoming something that you're not, or you're not certain of why you feel the way you feel, or you've always been around a certain group of people, a certain class of people, or you just always been around a bunch of women and you're a guy, or a bunch of men and you're a girl, and you hadn't been guided in the right direction. So you're mixed up in your emotions, or maybe you just feel that way, or you just decide that this is what you feel. So you're being shaped and molded into something. But a lot of times you got to think about it. I'm not a woman, but one thing I do in science and taught and being in psychology, when you look at the biopsychosocial, a child is gravitated by the mother's feelings, emotions, thoughts, and everything that a child is governed by is heightened about a million times more greater than it is for a child that is born. but a child that is not born and that is inside the mother's womb, it is amplified. It's just like taking a megaphone and that child hears it. It's just, and those of you that can hear it through the microphone tonight, I'm waiting for my co-host here, my wife, to say something. She's just sitting there all pretty and smiling with my church. With my shirt, to say my shirt, not my church, but she got my church shirt on. Yeah, she got my church shirt. She was supposed to change shirts after she cooked tonight, but she got on my shirt that says the best, extra dad. I know it's a bonus dad, but extra dad. So when you think about it, and you think about rewriting, and you think about the purpose of rewriting your story, and the whole purpose of rewriting your story is to set the stage of a different path that you should take. Why are we saying that? And there's a whole lot of other people that can probably take and respin what it is that we're saying. And there's a whole lot of people that have respin and put a new spin on what it is that God has given us. And that's good. Not a problem. Not angry. Not mad. Could have went on and said, hey, thank you. Could have went on and said, do you mind? Could have went on and said, hey, listen, we would like to take what you're doing and take it to another level. We believe we can take it to another level for you. Do you mind if we take it or take the idea that God gave you or take the vision that God gave you and can we revamp it and all that other stuff? That's how we do it, and that's the right way to go about doing it, because we would like to take the story that God has given y'all and write it in a different light, but take it to a different level. But we want to give the credit where credit is due, because God didn't give it to us, but we see what God has given to you, and we would like to take that and now write it in a different light, but give the credit where credit is supposed to be, so that now God will be honored by what you're doing, and God can honor you, but honor us because we've honored you for what you have done, because you've taken the vision that God gave you and you've made it, and what you've done, you've established the foundation. So we want to take and build off the foundation that God allowed you to establish. That's how God blesses us, because we're not taking something from you and making it ours when it's not ours. That's how you rewrite your story. Because now you take your story back and you write your story and you write yourself in your story instead of allowing people to write you out of your story. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and I'm going to let Evangelist talk for just a brief. Well, not just a brief. Don't misinterpret that, because I don't want anybody to think this is all about me. This is about the work and the will of God. And if God tells her to go on and take it over, I sit back and just enjoy myself. And I'll ask one of the kids, make me a cup of tea.
So as we sit down earlier today, and we were sitting down talking, and we looked at a variety of different things. And one of the biggest things that we looked at is that we were looking at whenever we was a little younger, and I'm pretty sure those of us that are 40 and 50, maybe your late 30s, you all remember.
Now, you think you're still 25, talking about 40 and 50, and she 40, 60 this year, and you still think she's 50, she still thinks she's 25 years old. 25. She was 25 when I met her, but she wasn't 25 because I was 38 years old and she was in her late 20s, and she thought she was, well, she was saying she was 25, but she wasn't. So I just want to throw that in there because she still thinks she's 25.
I am. Somebody tell me every so often you're not 25. One of the greatest excuse me. The biggest things that we took the time earlier today, we looked at the fact that whenever you look at WWE, we saw a lot of wrestlers that wrestled before the names that we know that they became big. And one of the biggest things that I look at is Apostle and I took the time to go back to see where they at now. We know that how they show you what's going on in their life and all of these things. Right. And one of the biggest things that I looked at is that one of them we watched was The Rock. We watched The Undertaker. And whenever we looked at it, and I thought about it, I said, The Undertaker used to be my favorite wrestler because me and my sister used to watch it. She was into wrestling. And I don't know what it was about that particular character. I just thought he was weird. He was different. I was like, oh, wow, I like him. And then the more we started watching, and she was like, I remember his name was something else. He didn't wrestle up under that name. And I was like, oh, yeah. She was like, yeah. And I was looking at it, and when me and him was talking about it, we was looking at the story of how he became the Undertaker, of how many different names he had to wrestle up under to become that person. They got a reel or a video that's going around on Facebook of a gentleman that's on some stairs. And when he's walking up the stairs, he's showing that he's constantly falling as he going up the stairs. And whenever I looked at that on yesterday, hold on one second. When I looked at that on yesterday, I recognized that every time he fell, he managed to get right back up.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't allow him to keep him down. He used the fall to bring him back up, to balance him
Right. He was
back off.
steady falling on this trampoline, and it was music that was played to. I think it was Whitney Houston was the music that they played to it. And it was about not falling, not giving up, not giving in, not allowing the pressures of life, the circumstances, and all of that. And my wife kept too. If you could have saw her face, she was like, "What in the world is wrong with this man? Why is he? Ain't no way in the world. What is he doing?" And he was going from top step, bottom step, all the way up to the top.
Then he'd come back down, and he would go back up. He would go up a couple of steps, and he would back up a couple of steps. Then he would go up a couple of steps, and then he would fall off. And I was paying attention to it, and I was watching it very closely. But I was looking at it that whenever we come to Christ, a lot of times we do fall. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we keep falling. And a lot of times I hear people, especially us as leaders, whenever we get to talking, how frustrated we get whenever you're teaching people. And it seems as though that they're just not getting it. And the more and more you feel that you're studying the word, and the more and more that you feel that you are trying to teach God's word and give God's word to his people, one of the biggest things that I looked at is that every time the man fell, his eyes were still focused up to the top of the stairs. He never allowed the stairs at each time he fall to keep him where he was at.
Yes, sir.
So whenever I look at that, and we talk about reading your story, and I thought about it whenever these people came to the characters that they found that they could relate to, that they could identify, their talent went up. They saw that their money went up, their name went up. People wanted to see them. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to be there. And that's what tended to happen with us. Whenever God started elevating us and we started coming into the people that he have designed us to be. Did you hear what I said? Not the people that everybody trying to make us be, mm-hmm. but the people that God designed us to be. Some of us, we were so hateful when we was in the world. I ain't gonna lie, I was one of them. I'd be ready to to your face and think about it later. But I thank God because of the fact he showed me how to love. You get what I'm saying? He showed me how to say, hold up, wait a minute, I can't allow this person to get that close to me. But one of the biggest mm-hmm. things that I learned is that Jesus knew the 12 that was with him. So a lot of times we have to ask the Lord to show us the people exactly. that are in our inner circle.
That's
who
right.
we really allowed to see us. Because not everybody that is a part of you are with you. Some people are there to see what your weaknesses are. And a lot of times we show our weaknesses and people use our weaknesses against us. But that's why I love it whenever we used to say, give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks. And now let the weak say I'm strong. Is that we start recognizing that when now we're growing, we're starting to have strength over those areas. So when we're rewriting those stories and everybody's starting to remind you of who you used to be. Every so often I get called and my sister be like, girl, remember whenever you jumped across them 2 seats and punched that boy in his face? And I'm like, yeah, that's who I used to be. I'm not that person no more because I learned how to control that part of me. One of the biggest things that I looked at is that whenever Jesus came with the 12, that was 12 ordinary men mm-hmm. with some serious issues, okay? They had their own set of issues, and whenever you look at it and you read and study up on each individual person, right. They become human to you now. You recognize, wait a minute, these people was not as strong as they were at the end of their walk exactly. than whenever they started out. That's why Jesus said to them, how long must I dwell with you? So whenever I look at that and I think about rewriting, it reminds me that I'm not the person that I started out when I was 13 years old and I decided to make Jesus my choice.
Come on.
That I realized that whenever I messed up, I got up and I didn't stay there.
Yes,
I
Lord.
recognize whenever I think about whenever my husband and I got together, I'm not little Kim, Evangelist Garrett, or little Kendra that came in the picture. I'm not that person no more. Mm-hmm. I recognize that I've changed. I recognize that God has elevated me. But one of the biggest things that I look at in writing my story and rewriting it, and I'm still rewriting it because every day I have a chance to take something off that I had on yesterday that I don't have to continue carrying today. Go ahead.
That's right. And I mean, you got to look at it because when you think about all of those that have had their lives changed, adjusted, you think about the mere fact that people have put themselves in positions to let somebody else change their name, change their face, give them a facelift, or change their identity to get them to a place to where they are now able to be well suited, be suitable, be in position to economically and financially be in position now to make more money, better money. But what did it cost them? What did it put them? Where did it actually bring them in their life? What did it cost their body? What did it cost their family? What did it cost their mind? What did it cost their emotion? What did it cost them? Period. To now go through the shifts and changes that they went through instead of putting themselves at a place to stabilize themselves. Primarily just for the fact of being who they were. Did you really recognize who you were? You allow somebody else to shape the frame of where you're going. You let somebody else shape and change the destiny of your life to cultivate and culture you while they change the culture of their own business for themselves. Now, did God have a hand in it? Yes, God had a hand in it. So we can't say that God didn't have a hand in it. You can't say that that was not God at all. But did you allow yourself to be in a place, the position, the state position, to allow God to move you where you needed to be? Because at some point, somebody decided, wait a minute, here's what's going to happen. Here's what I think is best suited for me. Here's the person that I feel that will be the best character because this character fits my character of who I am as my original identity and the person that I will identify with because it will not change the nature of who I am, period. But in the process of it, some of the people became and took on the nature of the character of the person and the role that they played. And when they started taking on the nature, the character, the role that they played, it affected not only their personal life, but it affected their home life. It affected the lives of those that they now played the role in front of because when they were no longer able to be that person, everybody had a problem with it. But when they became who they really were and people found out who they really were, they accepted that that person was the same one in the same person away from the ring as they were in the ring. So now, who are you away from the church? Paul told Timothy that he had to be able to be good in and out of the church. So are you the same person at home that you are away from home? Does your family know who you really are when you leave the house to who you are when you're at the house? Do people recognize you as being John, Kendra? Do they recognize you as being Bob, Billy, Clarence, Mike, Sally, Sue, Jane? Do they recognize you as being Kumar or Johnny? Or they recognize you as being Sam or whoever, whatever your name is? Or when you leave home, you're a total different person because some of us have so many different types of identity crises that we don't know how to identify ourselves because coming up as a kid, some of us had to change identity because we didn't know how to be able to be who we were because when we was around our friends, when we were around our parents, when we were around our grandparents, when we were around our classmates, when we were around the kids on the park, we had to be so many different people to different people that we didn't know who we were. So now that was an identity crisis. You had to be a rich child, you had to be a poor child, you had to be a beggar, you had to be this saved person, then you had to be this angry person, then you had to be this, this wide open person, then you had to be this person that seemed like they just had to be. Lap speed 6.2. Yeah, we're doing a whole lot of laps with all the talking that I'm doing, so I need you to be quiet. I need you to hush. Hush up. My watch wanted to tell me I was doing a whole bunch of lap speeds, so I guess I was talking so fast that my watch was saying we're doing lap speeds and said I was doing 62 miles an hour talking. Wow. Anyway, so listen, so many of us, that's where you look at the fact that you have people that have bipolar disease, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, bipolar 3. You have people that have, schizophrenia 1, schizophrenia 2. Then you have people that have what used to be called multiple personalities, but they call it identity crisis. They call it, identity disassociation disorder now because now people don't know how to associate who they are. They Mike, they Jane, they Billy, they Mary. They got about 25 different personalities all in one. Some people have 100 different personalities on the inside, and they're still trying to to figure out who they really are. They're uncertain of who they really want to be because of sometimes trauma, the fact that they didn't have nobody around, the fact that people didn't know how to deal with them, they didn't know how to deal with people. There was no mama, there was no daddy. They didn't know what kind of emotion they were supposed to show. They wasn't certain of how to really deal with the emotions they were dealing with because they didn't know what it was. They didn't know whether they were supposed to act like a guy. They didn't know whether they were supposed to act like a girl. They didn't know whether or not they were supposed to cry, whether they wasn't supposed to cry. And they just found themselves just messed up. So they were molded in all kinds of ways. And now they were clicking. And what I mean by clicking, they clicked out, they blacked out. So around, people that, various intervals in life, various classes of people. They were high class people, middle class people, low class people, poor people. They can live on the street and they can be homeless. They can be in church and they were like church folk. They can be around rich folk and they can act like rich folk. They had the lingo, they knew how to talk. They could be around, Wall Street folk, and they could talk like the people on Wall Street. They knew all of the language. They knew all of the lingo that needed to be talked. They could talk all of the sales and what have you. But then they can be around people that just was not important, and they knew just what to do. They can take on somebody else's identity. They can find out what your name was. They can find out your background, where you been, what you did, how you did it, where you were born. They can find out, exactly who your mom was, who your daddy was, who your grandparents was, what your grandfather did, what your grandmother did, what they did for a living, where they came from. They can tell you where they was born overseas. If they were born overseas, they were born in Mississippi, born in California, if they were born in Maine, if they came out of Canada, whatever happened, they knew your whole life and they can take on your identity. People are able to do that. Do you know who you really are? Do you understand who you are? And the sad part, people that have played roles in movies, they take on the identity of the person that they was associate in the movie. Because when you're taught in acting class and you go through these classes, you have to take on the character. You have to get in the character. So now you've gotten in the character so much that you live out the role that you live. You become psychotic if you play a psychotic role, if you play a murderous role, if you play a horse role, if you play the role of a person that now has to have multiple personalities, a person that has schizophrenia or bipolar, if you play a role of a person that's very deceptive, an abusive person, if you play a person that, seem to be racist and you're not racist, you take on the tendencies of the nature because they carry a spirit. So let me help you understand what all of these things are. They become spirits. They become spiritual. So you take on these roles. If you never was a man or a woman of God and you play the role of a preacher, now you're wondering why you're acting so saved. Well, you take on that spirit of the role that you just played. You now are trying to be drawn more unto God, more unto Christ. You begin to live a more godly lifestyle. And maybe that wasn't your lifestyle before. You begin to take on the mold. It begins to shape you, because that's why Paul told the believers at Rome, that I beseech you, I beg you, I'm trying to get you to understand that you should not be conformed. The conformity means to be shaped by, to be molded by, to be crafted by. So what are we being crafted by daily? So being crafted by something now goes back into what we started off with. You're being written. Jeremiah said, that we're written in the earth. What are we really writing? How do we want our story to be told? We sing the song, and part of the song we often say is, that's not how the story ends. We talk about how 3 days later, he rose again, and we talk about, do we really know that God loves us? Have we really written the story of the love of our lives? We talk about the people that we started off with in the sandbox, shooting marbles with, playing on the swing set with, on the merry-go-round with, your little thing that you had to run around with and spin around, and then you had to hurry up and jump on it so that it can spin around with you on the seesaw with. We did all of these things on the playground. So do we know the people that we really played with? People that we went to high school with, that we played pee-wee ball with, people that we played recreational ball. We call it TPR where I'm from, Terrebonne Parish Recreational, is what it's called. That's why it's called TPR. It's still recreational, but the reason why we call it TPR, Terrebonne Parish Recreation, but it's still rec ball, but it's called TPR for short, Terrebonne Parish Recreation. So it's called TPR. So still recreational ball. Do you know the people? You know the referees and all of these kids that you play with. That eventually that you played this rec ball with. That now you went to elementary school, you went to middle school, you went to high school, and you played high school ball with them. And some you might have went to college with. And you know when you got out of college, you did a whole lot of stuff. But did you really know them, or did you know of them? Do you really know yourself? Do you know what you really like, or do you like what you like because somebody told you you like it? Did you start liking it because somebody liked yellow, somebody liked green, and you thought it was a nice color because somebody else liked it? Well, I love purple because one of the reasons why I like and I love purple because God loves a purple field. And every time God sees something purple, he smiles at it. Take a read in the Bible, you'll find out why. And you'll find out that's why I love purple. Somebody told me, why you like purple? Purple is girl color. You know, why I like it all that girls like. Well, girls can love what they want. I love it because God loved purple. Sorry, it's royalty. Second of all, I like gold. Another color of God. Sorry, it's in rainbow. You can call me what you want to call me, but I'm a straight up man. At the end of the day, I like what I like. I love what I love. So I know me. I know you push me to the limit, saved or not. You gonna find me saying some things that you like. Yeah, you show you saved. You show you a preacher. What? I love beautiful women. But I will admire them, but I know how far to go with my admiration. My wife and I were talking the other day about admiration because some people take admiration beyond that. And when you start admiring it, you start lusting. When you start lusting, you start desiring. When you start desiring, you start coveting. When you start coveting, now you want it. Now you're at the place where you're ready to see it. And I say, you know what? You hit the nail on the head, baby, because it's all right to admire. I have no problem if my wife say, that's a handsome man. So you're going to get mad. No, because you hear me all the time say, that guy look good. That's a good looking man. And ain't nothing wrong with me. Because if it look good, it look good. Baby, that's a beautiful woman. That's fine. But my problem is if you start, oh, he look good, baby. Oh, he fine, baby. Now, when you start getting that, we got a problem. But if you say, baby, that's a good looking man, we all right. Don't go past that. I don't care if you going past it in your head, because your body language is going to say it, your face going to show it. You tell me if your man sitting there and he looking at a big fine woman pass by, I don't care what her color is, I don't care what her ethnicity background, your man pass by, you a woman, you gonna be like, you got a problem with your eyes? You know that's what a woman gonna say. Vice versa, man, you see a woman looking at a man pass by and he got a six pack and he got a pectorals and he got some arms and she looking real hard. Hold up, baby, where your mind at? Bring it back, bring it back, bring it in, bring it in. So do you really know yourself? I know me. I know what I did. I know the things that my appetites and my hungers and desires will go and ravage over. So I know when to say, hold up, brother, reel it in. Come on. Y'all remember the women back in the day, reel it in. You know, they would do that thing back when I'm from, reel it in. I'm going to reel him in, girl. Watch this here. I'm going to cast my line out. I'm going to watch I reel him in. See, they did that back in Louisiana. I don't know where y'all from if they ever done it that, but that's what the women back home would say. I'm going to reel him in, girl. Watch me throw my line. I'm going to cast it out there. Watch I reel him in. See, some of y'all still trying to reel some stuff in that y'all need to reel in. So y'all need to rewrite that. But if you reel it in, think about what Jesus told Andrew, and he had Andrew to go find Peter, and Peter came back to Jesus with Andrew. He said, drop your nets and I'm going to make you fish for men. So do you know how to fish for men? See, some of y'all fishing for men the wrong way. I told that to some brothers some years ago when I started preaching. Hold up, Rev, we men. What you mean make us fishers of men? We ain't going to find men. Boy, you better change your mind. That's not what I'm talking about. Dude, look like I said, now if I told you we were going fish with some women, oh yeah, we ain't going to do that, Rev. Hold up. Now, see, that's the problem. We ain't going to fish. No. First of all, when you say women come and look for you, you ain't got to go look for them. Vice versa, if a woman is out ministering, she got to go look for the man. You don't understand that way yet? But what you're giving. So do you know? Do you understand? Do you really understand your mind? Is your mind still shaping you the same way because your thought process is exactly the same? Because it's molding you in every facet. And the moment it don't go the way you want it, guess what it's going to do? Go ahead, Evangelist.
Oh, no, I was just getting ready to say that a lot of times what tends to happen and that we have to continue to discipline ourselves. But whenever we talking about rewriting, you have to understand when you're rewriting everything. Yeah. Everything. You are from spiritual, natural. Yes. You going to look at your whole life. Yes, Lord. Like we had spent a couple of weeks talking about the issues. If you remember, we had started out talking about getting to the root of things. And we looked at the fact that the church should be the hospital. And when people come into God's house, they should be able to go back out not carrying the weight that they came in with, are no longer in bondage as they walk out the door. Exactly. So whenever you look at it, you look and see what is keeping you tied in bondage, because you're rewriting your story. Every year I hear people say, I'm setting up my New Year's resolution. I hate that word. I really do. Because half the time we don't never complete it. Because I remember whenever I used to do a New Year's resolution, then I got to a place to forget that New Year's resolution stuff because I never completed anyway. 1 year I said I'm gonna lose weight. I ain't losing no weight. I think I picked up weight. Then you
actually, well, since we've been together, when you said the resolution about losing weight, you actually lost it. But about 6 months later, you started getting back up because you stopped doing the thing that you're doing to maintain it. And I think a lot of it was because of the type, your job actually added to what they wanted you to do. So you couldn't keep up going to the gym like you were doing because
they had you work. I was going to say, oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to be dedicated. I'm going to the gym. No dedication because life happens. And I think that's where we start messing up, is that life happened. So whenever we rewrite our story, we start preparing for life to happen. We start preparing for these things to happen. My biggest thing, I used to say, oh yeah, by the end of the year, I'm going to have this fat bank account. My savings account going to be this. Oh yeah, I start off the year.
What you say. You're right. But I believe what it really is, and this is what really just came to mind, it's not that you don't. It's not that you can't. And what I really believe takes place is that we don't maintain the sacrifice, because we start off with the sacrifice, we put the things in place, we make the implementations, but life do happen. But when life happens, we don't maintain the sacrifices that we started off with, the sacrifices that we were making.
No, we make excuses.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. We give in to the excuses that we make. Then it becomes easy to keep making excuses because we find a way to get an excuse to make to say, now I can blame it on this here, because we look for reasons. So now we go back to the same thing that Adam did in the garden, and that is the woman you gave me. We go back to what Eve said, well, the serpent. And the serpent looked around, ain't got nobody there, so he has nobody that he can blame. He can't blame anybody for what has taken place, what has transpired. So God now cursed the very ground that the serpent now is on, and he's cursed to now crawl on the belly for all his days until God come back again, till Christ comes again. So now God cursed the very ground that the serpent walked on, and God tell Adam, I tell you what, here's what's going to happen with you. So because of that, he said, by the sweat of your brow, you're going to have to work. Right. He tell the woman that what he's going to do, he's going to increase her sorrow. So people thought that Eve wasn't going to have no pain when she had a baby. Yes, she was. Wasn't going to be as bad. But he increased the sorrow of her having children. Right. She wasn't going to have to worry about being between life and death when she gave birth. Wasn't going to be hard for the child to come out of the birth canal, where now that was a great suction where the baby was trying to stay in and come out at the same time. Now, you don't know. And there's a suction even when women say, well, I'm going to just have a C-section. That same suction that it takes for that baby to come out of the birth canal is the same suction that it is when that baby come out of C-section. So you're right. We give ourselves reasons to make the excuses that we make so that we're not maintaining the things that we need to maintain. And we can. So how do we rewrite it? What do we do to rewrite it? We stay consistent. We stay constant. How do we stay consistent and constant? We continue to work. You want to have the lifestyle that you want to have. You want to have the things that you want to have. You want to be in position to own and have ownership of certain certain things. You make sure you get to the club the way you want to get to the club. You want to make sure that people see you in a certain light. Then the things that you want, you make the sacrifice for that. You go to the barber shop, you go to the hair shop, you go to the nail shop. You make sure you got money for all of that. Then you put the same effort, you put the same strength, the same desire that you do to make sure you have all of that. And you want to put up this front and this face for people, then put up the same front and face for yourself so that you got all of what you need to have. And by the time you finish doing that.
Why you saying that?
No,
I was sitting here thinking when you say how we put on the front. I remember, and I think I shared this with you. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But I remember whenever my kids was younger. And I was
you shared a lot of stuff, so I don't know.
And I remember whenever they was younger, I've always been the type of person. I don't care what I got going on. I don't care. Everybody know. Y'all know I ain't ashamed of me. I can talk about me. You still trying to figure out who I am, but I know who I am. My kids have two different fathers, and I was a single parent when me and my husband got together. But whenever I look at it and I think about it, I remember whenever my kids would go and see their family, right? Mm-hmm. But I tell you one thing, I don't care how hard I was struggling, they never knew I was struggling. Because my children's fathers don't pay child support. One had a child support order that chose not to pay until my child got grown and then got married because you still had that child support order on you. But then the other one, I signed the paperwork because I feel like this. If I got to work hard and I got to go out and prove to these people that this is my income and you're only going to pay based upon my income because the child solely stays with me, that I'm not even worried about it. You go on with your life and I'm going on with mine, and I'm going to make the sacrifice that I need to make to take care of mine. And whenever I look at that and I think about it, when you say how do we put on fronts, I might have not have had a whole lot of money, but I tell you one thing. Whenever my babies woke up in them grandparents' house, aunts, uncles' house, whenever they saw my kids, you best believe you thought I had a whole lot of money and I didn't have a whole lot of anything.
You know, a lot of people knew how to put on a face. They knew, remember Face Off for the A-Team? Face knew how. Face never had a whole lot of money. Heck, the A-Team didn't have a whole lot of money, but Face, he knew how to put a front on. He was the pretty boy. He was the pretty guy. So Face knew how to talk real well. Face knew how to do a front. He put a front on real well, and a lot of us did a good job at it. And we learned well, but we didn't learn how to take it off. Now it's time to put those things aside. That's why he said, "Let us lay aside every weight and the sin that do easily beset." So now the weights that we got on from carrying that so much, we continue to carry that throughout the rest of our days. And here we are now, and we won't pick up the pen. Well, we pick it up, we put it down. We pick it up, put it down. We pick it up, put it down. And we want somebody else to write our story. So now we tell them. Well, we got so much digitalization in the age in which we live. And we have so much opportunity that now you can press a button on your phone and you can speak to it. Like tonight, we had 2 of our videos that we put out for the invite. It allowed me to do a voiceover on the videos that you had. So it was my voice on the video, but it had the words in the background so you could hear my voice, but still read what was in the background. So we didn't have a whole lot of people that really viewed the invite tonight because it was my voice, it wasn't music. But if we'd have put music to it, we'd have had a whole lot of people that have viewed the videos, So the thing of it is, I hear the voice, but that ain't usual. Okay, good. But the thing about it, we got all these advancements, but we won't use it for the right things. We use it for the wrong thing. We watch a whole lot of stuff. And all of us are watching things that we ain't no business watching, still watching some things we ain't got no business watching. And we'll pop up at the Lord's house. We'll pop up everywhere. We want God to pop up in anything. But we forget that the Lord is everywhere. His eyes are beholding the evil and the good. That's right. And we forget no matter where we at, God is at. Yes. David said, "I make my bed in hell, thou art there." So I can be as saved as I want and be sitting in the whole house. I can be sitting I can be sitting in the club and watching them on the pole. You think Jesus ain't there?
He there. He said, "No, I live."
I be at the casino. Y'all know it's the casino. He there. And they're at the casino. Lord, let me hit the big double down. Real what you know about that? I ain't been saved all my life. I got family that's still shooting craps. Y'all serious? Every store you go in, they got a lotto.
Yes.
When the Powerball was billions of dollars, everybody wanted to win the billions of dollars. All to find out when the people take their taxes, you're a millionaire, not a billionaire.
That's it.
Are y'all serious? And how many saved folk played the lotto? How many preachers played the lotto? Come on, y'all.
To give us the money.
So at the end of the day, when you're rewriting your story, I can't tell you that you were wrong. I can't tell you that you were right. Can't tell you you're going to hell. Can't tell you this. Well, I can tell you that if we keep doing what we're doing, some of us will end up in hell. That's the story. Is that where God wants us to go? No. Hell was not designed for the believer. Hell was not designed for the same person. My daughter said, I ain't gonna lie. Well, I mean, if you look at it, if all us just be real and be true, if all us be on straight front street, it is what it is. If we did, we did. Okay, not a problem. Get up, keep on going. That's like riding a bike and you fall off. Get up, dust yourself off. I done skinned so many of my knees up, and I ain't got but 2 knees riding a bicycle, learning how to ride a bike. I done fell in the ditch so many times.
Oh, yeah,
it is what it is. But once you learn how to balance, keep on going. Hey, what's up, preacher? So when you think about it and you're rewriting your story, people wrote you off. Man, at one point, I had to go to jail for a worthless check that wasn't my check. And the sad part about it, the same place that I went cashed a worthless check, I can still go back to that place because I didn't realize that the check was a worthless check. Said that the judge said, I'm going to give you 2 years, well, I think it was 2.5 years federal time. And after I did the federal time, never went to jail for that. But what I went to jail for was over some child support stuff. And even with that was suspended sentence. Wow. Was in jail with murderers. So people understand some stuff. But the federal time that I got, it was federal probation. But can I tell you, if you check my record now, you'll never find it on it because the person that God had me in the Eastern District that was supposed to be my PO, he said by the time this on, he told me this 5 times. He said, John, when this is over, if you do what you're supposed to do, he said, I'm a deacon in my church. He was a deacon at First Baptist Church off of Main Street at home. He said, when you finish, he said, this ain't going to be on your record. He said, they're going to clear it off your record. Wow. This was the judge out in Lafayette, and the judge was spinning around in his chair. I was the last one on his docket. Everybody else got from 5 to 10 years fed time. I was the only one that got 2.5 years probation. When mine was over, I was pastoring the church. Wow. I'm trying to tell y'all what I know. I'm trying to tell y'all what's real. When it was over and done and my 2.5 years was over, David came to me and said, here you go, Rep. He said, oh, by the way, here go the paper that show you that all of your record is clear and expunged. He said, you'll never see a federal charge on your record nowhere. And when it was all said and done, how I know it was real and true, when I moved to Georgia after Katrina and my house was destroyed, I had a company that gave me a class, a $1,500 class that I should have had to pay for that they gave me for free. And when they did a federal United States background check to see if I could work in finance, because they had to do that because I had to have a federal background check, when they brought me into this class, that was nothing on my record. They said, you got anything? I said, well, I had got a charge some years ago, and they said it was supposed to be expunged out of my record. Well, when they did the state, they did the federal, they did the whole 9 yards. I said, Rev, you ain't got no federal charges on. He said, what federal charge you supposed to have? I said, well, he said it's supposed to be out. That's what David told me. So I'm trying to tell you, you can rewrite your story if you want to rewrite it. It don't matter who you are. Why am I saying this? Because this might help somebody. This might get you to the place that just because it was written in, don't mean you're written out. Come on. Just because somebody have wrote you off doesn't mean God wrote you off, because some things have to be there. Just because somebody wasn't there in the early parts of your life, God used that to protect you. We found that out tonight. I said all the time, we was listening at John F. Hannah story tonight, and every preacher my wife had already saw before but I sat down and I listened to them earlier with Bishop Bloomer. And you know, the thing about it is that we look at things as being bad when they're really not bad. They're actually there to protect us, and God allowed some things to happen, and you mad because mama wasn't there, daddy wasn't there. You got raised by your aunt, you got raised by your sister, you got raised by your brother, you got raised by your grandma, you got raised by your grandfather. You understand? You got raised by a stepmama, got raised by a stepdaddy, and you wanted mama, you wanted daddy to be there. Okay, that's fine. but you don't understand the purpose why they didn't raise you. You mad because you wanted the love from them. That's good, but you got love from a mother. You got love from a father. You didn't understand that God kept you because mama could have had you be in the next hole along with her and hold you out, and you could have been worse off than what you are. Daddy could have been the one that was pimping you out and had you on the corner selling some dope. You could have got killed, or you could have been in the position killing somebody, but you wasn't. You're not looking at how God protected you.
Yes.
You could have got hooked on the dope.
Come on.
Mama could have been selling you. Daddy could have sold you. He could have been pimping you out to sleep with the females to get the dope that he needed to get, but you didn't. You wasn't there. You're not looking at how God kept you. And even if some of those things did happen, God snatched you out of it.
Come on.
He got you to a place where you were clean.
Yes.
You thought you got some disease because you slept with the wrong person and they didn't tell you that they had something.
Come on.
You had to get some medicine and the medication was able to clear it up and you didn't have to take it for the rest of your life. Did you think about that?
Come on.
Well, they're now stuck taking it for the rest of their life. I know some folk like that. Literally.
My Lord.
I pastor some folk like that.
Yes, Lord.
So when you talk about rewriting your story, think about what God wrote into your story.
Yes.
For you to tell your story, to elevate somebody else.
Come on.
You worry about folk that's no longer in your life. God separated for real. You fell in love with somebody. You fell in love with the notion of love, but the person didn't love you because you didn't love yourself.
Come on.
Y'all remember in one of the songs that said, love don't love nobody.
Yes.
But do you love you?
Yes.
If you love you, you're going to stop allowing you to beat you. Because it's you that's beating you, that's giving the power to somebody else to beat you. The reason why somebody's beating you is because you are beating you, and they see that you're beating you.
Yes.
You are getting abused by somebody else because they see that you're abusing yourself. So they now have taken opportunity to do what you're already doing.
Come on.
You're already talking to yourself bad. So they take an opportunity to talk to you the same way because they see how you handle yourself. They see what you allow to happen to yourself. They see how you're treating yourself. It's what you have already taught yourself to do to yourself that they now have taken advantage to do to you because you've already given them access to what you've already done to yourself. You wonder what's being done. You have already created the standard in your house. And I'm talking about this house first. Then the house that you gave them access to come and be a part of. The life that you've given access to begin to get in. So you have to rearrange it. You have to rewrite it. You know, instead of starting off with an ink pen, start off with a pencil. Because on a pencil, there's always an eraser. You can start erasing before you finish the final draft.
Come on.
Because see what a real writer does, a real writer writes with a pencil. So that whatever mistakes they make, they can erase it.
Yes.
So start writing with a pencil so that you can now erase some of the things that you need to erase.
Yes.
So when you finish the final draft, see, sometimes you're going to have 4 or 5 rough drafts before you get to the final draft. And in the final draft, there's still going to be some mistakes before you make the finished draft.
Come on.
Do y'all not understand that? See, writing, they taught us that in English. And by the time you get to that, then you can now get ready to publish it. But you may republish it over 3 or 4 times. So tonight, while you're rewriting, think about the mold that you want to have. See, when they molded this piece of glass, let me see if I can get it as close as I can get. That they're supposed to have Jesus and the cross and all that other stuff, and see what it is. The mold is on the back side, but you got to actually see what it looks like on the front side so you can actually see it. So that's supposed to be Christ, not supposed to be a cross. But what they did, they had to cut the inside out of the glass to get the mold in it so that you can see what's supposed to look like Christ on that side. So they had to cut all the glass to get the mold to look like it looked. So they had to dig out the inside. So when the glass was hot, they took the mold of what was the shape of a person they considered to be Christ while the glass was hot and set it in this hot glass to get the shape that they have on this side. So you can see the right face, but on this side, it don't look the same because they had it face down.
Come on.
But for you to see the image, they put it face down.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see what I'm saying? This is what they did. The mold went in this hot glass. And in this hot glass, it was face down for you to see what it looked like right side up. So that's what they had to do. So you got to think about it when you are in a mold. That's the same thing they do with a candle. They pour the wax, but they put the wicks in first. The wicks go in at the bottom. We used to make candles. Then you pour the wax on the inside that have been mixed with all of the scents that you wanted to have. Mm-hmm. See, the wicks got to go in, and they got to be long enough. So while they're long enough, what happens after that, you pour the wax in, and they got to settle for a couple of hours. Mm-hmm. And then once they settle for a couple of hours, then guess what? You got a candle.
Yep.
But you got to choose the type of wax you want to use. You got to choose the type of scent you want to put in it. Mm-hmm. You got to mix it up, and it's got to be at a certain temperature. You got to have a thermometer to measure the temperature to make sure it's at the right temperature to pour in the smell you want to have in it. Mm-hmm. What smells are people adding to your life? Because see, some of y'all smell like some people. Mm-hmm. See, when you're being molded, you're not just being molded and shaped by people. You're being molded, shaped, and you have their scent. You smell like them. Some of us still smell like the past relationships we have because we carried into the present relationships we in. Friendships, ministries, jobs, yes, neighborhoods, new houses. We carry on. What will we do? We carry on how we
acted at the last place we was at.
Exactly.
I can't stand coming in here. Just get on my nerves. Every time I turn around, it's always something. Every time I'm home, it's always something going on.
And you're right. I stopped because I was agreeing with what you were saying. I mean, and that's really how it is. You keep house the way you kept house where you was at. Mm-hmm. You play house the way you played house where you was at last. The reason why I say you play house because if you're in a marriage, live in, if you got to live in, if you living with somebody 2-3 days a week and then next week you ain't with somebody, or you playing, and some of y'all gonna get mad at this, but I'm gonna just call it because you got somebody that you with 2-3 days a week, then next week you with somebody else, or 2-3 days a week you with 4-5 different people. You not only got those spirits on you, and you ain't just breaking off soul ties, but whoever they been with before they were with you, you got them and then some. You kissing on them, and they done kissed on 4 or 5 other people. You licking all over them, they licking all over you. So you got all kind of moles on you. You're trying to figure out why your skin is crawling and this, that, and the other. You wondering why you got all these things going on. You wondering what's going on in your house, and you got anger, animosity, resentfulness, bitterness. You got all of these arguing and fussing, and you're trying to figure out why things are not going the way that it should. Things are breaking. You got all of these mishaps. You got all of these people that are trying to come at you all kind of ways. You got women coming at you, and you're a woman. You got men coming at you, and you're a man. Who have they been with besides you that are now causing things to happen? Because maybe they've been with a man and another woman at the same time. And you got problems. You're trying to figure out what's going on. It's shaping everything about you. It's the same thing that we have going on in our ministries. We got different kind of preachers that are coming. We got them preaching in our church. And do we know what kind of spirits that they carry? Come on. They're talking about how they've been before the Lord and how they spend time in the presence of the Lord. We've been in the presence of the Lord because the Lord have allowed us to come into his presence. He's given us access to himself. There's some things that's going to happen because there's a give and a take. There's an exchange that happened when God allowed us in his presence. And I guarantee you, I don't care what kind of sins we may have had before we got into the presence of God. They ain't going to still be there because I assure you, all of us, we will have some things that going to fall off of us.
Yes, Lord.
I promise you that. So if we've been playing around with 2 women and a man, and while we were playing with them 2 women, and the man were playing us while we were playing with a woman.
Come on.
And them 2 women were playing with each other while we were playing with them. and you decided that you wanted to go before the Lord, and God eventually let you in His presence because your prayer, your praise now got you out of you, and God let you get into His presence, I promise you ain't gonna have no hungers and desires no more. Lying, all the other stuff. See, we don't want to hear that because what happens, God breaks those things off of us. Cheating, gambling, will those things still try to come back? Yeah. He gives us a way of escape what's going on. And the mind said, no, I don't want to do it. Let me use this here. This is going to really flip y'all. My mind's telling me no, but my body, I'm going to tell you, if the Holy Ghost is saying, come on in, and your body said no, the Holy Ghost saying, come on, your body said no. Can I tell you, the Holy Ghost said, come, and He grab you, and you get that, your body ain't going to have no choice but to submit. Because something's going to happen, some convulsions going to take place. Ask me about it. I'm trying to tell y'all something. So when you rewrite your story, we just looked at a young lady ready to take my bath last night. My wife was looking at this young lady that had been in jail for, 27 years, 20 years? She had been out 27 years, been out 8 months. Been out 8 months, and she said while she was there, we're having church, and she saw that lady that going to church, and she just knew she was stirred at the time. She just knew she was about to hit, and she was about to play. And the thing about it, she had been brought up in church. She knew the Lord. She knew the word real well. But wanted to go to church, and she wanted to hear. And the thing about it, the video the young lady did, she said she wanted to hear a word that night, but she saw that pretty young thing, and she just knew she was going to hit, and they was in chapel. And the woman went to preaching. They called altar call. And she said, the thing about it, she saw all other people falling out under the Holy Ghost, and she knew what the Holy Ghost was all about. And she said the lady just lightly touched her on the stomach. And she said she just went to falling out just like a feather. She said, I just went to floating down like a little feather fell on the floor. She said, it is like, what? She wasn't expecting it, but she knew God was real. She said she was getting all in the world. Her mind was trying to stay on the woman because the woman was pretty and fine. But as the word was coming, she said, I couldn't help it. Amen. She just preaching good. I hear the word. Said the word was just tearing up on the inside. She was all into it. Because see, when you got the word in you, you being saved, that means she was saved. But she backslid, and she knew that. And when the word was hidden, it was hidden. And when the Holy Ghost was drawn, she said something just drawed up there. She wasn't trying to go, but she found herself up there. She went with intentions. Her intentions were wrong. But when she got there and the lady laid hands on her, she didn't even say that to her. She just touched her. And she didn't even really just force her. She said just lightly touched her stomach. And she was in the floor crying. And bawling and crying, as she said. But one of the biggest things that I listened to at her story was whenever you really come in contact with the Holy Spirit, and that's why you're right. So busy, all you want to do is get right back there, and that's what she was saying. Is right. That she kept praying and saying, "Lord, I just want to feel you all the time. I want to be with you all the time." And when the more she kept saying it, and because of the fact she was sharing it, you could hear it. And that's what caught because that's why I told you, wait, stop. I ain't tell you stop now. That's what I was telling my wife last night. Play the story again. I got to hear that. I said, because I feel something in what this young lady said. I said, it sounds like this young lady, was living a lifestyle that was, homosexual. I didn't realize the lady had been in jail, but what I did hear was this young lady got delivered. And this had me with chills. I'm like, okay, we finna go to church. I feel church right now. Hold on, wait before I get in the shower. I don't want to fall down in the shower. I mean, y'all shouting and the water going out and bust my head. And now the paramedic want to know what happened. Well, he shouldn't have been in the shower praising God. So I wanted to wait. And when I heard it, just like my wife said, she right. The girl said just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And she said, finally, she just got to the place. All she wanted to be was in the presence of God. She said, I kept on wrong for a while. And then finally, I just said, leave it alone. She said, I had no desire to want to be with no woman. She said it was the first 30 days she was doing good, but she was reading the word and had no understanding of what she was reading. Exactly. But she still kept reading, had no understanding. She was still reading, had no understanding. So finally, she just gave up because there was no chaplain on the campus all the time to aid and assist and teach her. And then whenever she said that, whenever she found herself, she started to pray, and she noticed that she used to have free roam on the campus until she made that prayer and said, Lord, I want to be in your presence all the time. She noticed that she started being in
confinement and not in general public. And she noticed every time she did something, she was back in confinement. But what she didn't realize is that God was breaking something in her. And a lot of times, that's what I was trying to get to when we was talking about rewriting our story. We have to remember that sometimes the pressure that we are up under, we're not just up under pressure for no reason. We're under pressure because God got something in us that He's pulling out of us that He want to use in us. So whenever we going through, we have to remember that when we write in our story, we write in our story not because of what we want to be told. It's a story that God has that He need to be told about us, through us, and only we can tell it.
That's right. And that's imperative. That's important because you want to be in His presence, but you have free reign of the jail campus. But you realize that when you actually be in His presence more and more, He kept putting you in confinement.
Come on.
You wanted to be in His presence, so He fixed it where you could be in His presence. But you didn't realize that when you asked to be in His presence, you had to be in confinement because being in general population kept you from being able to recognize His presence because you had too many distractions that distracted you from seeing it. Now you saw it, but you didn't realize it. You knew it, but you didn't understand it. You couldn't be able to handle what was going on around you because you didn't have the right kind of teaching to teach you of how to deal with the distraction because you were reading, and I'm pretty sure she read what Paul said, tend unto the Lord without distractions, but she didn't understand what that meant. She didn't know how to deal with it. And because they didn't have somebody on campus on a regular to be able to teach it, or even somebody that had now got saved and got delivered to be able to help her to understand it, what all I getting? I don't care how much knowledge you get. You got to have somebody there. That's why when you're babes and you desire the sincere milk of the word of God that you may grow thereby, you still have to have somebody to guide you. You got to have somebody to teach you. That's why you are very impressionable. That's why we say it as God gave to me. You got to stop allowing people to mold you and shape you into what they want you to be. Leaders do the same thing inside the house of God. They catch somebody that is very vulnerable. That's what happened to young people when they get molested. You can get mentally molested. You can get spiritually molested. You can get economically molested. You can get financially molested, emotionally molested. You can get verbally molested. See, people think molestation just come because somebody done touch you in ways that you shouldn't be touched, and you just think about sexual molestation. Well, I'm sorry. There's more than just that way to get. You can get spiritually molested, and nobody ain't done nothing with you because ultimately they may be trying to set you up to lay you down. They may be trying to set you up to engage in other acts, but in order to get to that, they got to first gain your trust. They got to take your power. They got to recognize what areas they need to be able to overwhelm you and overpower you in first to be able to take all of your power because they can't just take it in one area. Because if they just take it in one area, you're able now to recognize and come back out. But they got to take it in every area. And some of y'all didn't realize that's what they were doing the whole time. So when they was able to conquer every area in your life, and then was able to take your words to make you speak how they wanted you to speak, and you didn't realize you were talking like they wanted you to talk, and you were talking just like them, and you were saying their words and not your words, and people were trying to get you to see that you weren't talking like yourself, but you were talking like somebody else. And you kept getting mad, kept getting angry, kept getting upset, and saying, no, I'm saying what I want to say. This is me talking. This ain't nobody else talking. Then finally, months or years later, is when you realize, or when you started delivering something that you shouldn't have delivered, and you gave birth to something that you shouldn't have gave birth to. Or right when you got ready to give birth, God allowed it to be aborted. And in that transition of it being aborted, it caused a lot of pain that you should have never went through. And there was somebody trying to keep you from going through an abortion and keep you from trying to get impregnated by something you should have never been impregnated by. But you didn't want to listen. So hopefully tonight you've been listening of how to rewrite, how to begin to rewrite, what a rewrite is all about, the purpose of a rewrite, and the reason why you should create your own mold and mold yourself and begin to shape your life the way you know God has created you to be. You already know your purpose, the thing you've been doing so long, the thing you enjoy doing, the thing that makes you happy, the thing that makes you smile. The thing that you always find yourself gravitating and going back doing, that's a part of your purpose. It is who you are. It is what is always on your mind, what stay in your heart, what has been created in you since the day that you begin to recognize. And people have been trying to shift you somewhere else, but you keep going back to it. That's a part of your purpose. That is your purpose. Start doing it. That is a part of your ministry. That is your ministry. Have you not realized that? Have you not realized that gives you so much joy? Anita Baker said, "You bring me joy." And what Anita Baker said, well, she sung it in that baritone voice. So, the thing that keeps bringing you joy, you just so happy. Whether somebody give you $1 or not, it makes you happy. You get paid just by the joy that you have from seeing how much it makes other people feel good about it. You feel like James Brown used to feel, I feel good. I knew that I would now. That's how you feel when you do it. Don't, don't. That's how you feel. That's why y'all should have all been laughing. Because that's what you feel when you're doing the thing that is your purpose. Because it has you smiling. Then it has you at this place right here. P-E-A-C-E. Y'all know what that spelled?
Peace.
And when you at that place right there, why you got that J-O-Y and you got that H-A-P-P-Y, I am happy. Y'all know that Pharrell Williams song. Y'all just happy. And then the Bible says, be happy, says the Lord.
Yes.
When you in those three places right there, that's when you know you're in your purpose. See, I'm in my purpose because I love seeing people smile. But I'm in my purpose when I'm doing the ministry that God called me to do since I was 3 years old. And I love what I do. And I know God gave me intelligence. Two of the gifts that He gave me was knowledge and wisdom. Because there are times that there are things that He allowed me to know that I ain't studying nobody's school. And I've been to Coolidge, and I know it's college. I've been to college. I've been to Walden University online, left from Walden University, then I went to Georgia Pacific College, Georgia Perimeter rather, is what it's called, and turned over to Georgia State. So those three colleges I've been to. And I got some degrees. Did a little time at Nichols, did a little time at LSU. So yes, I'm a college brother. So I know what it is to be in higher learning, literally. But at the end of the day, and I've been to Bible college, Christian Bible College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, United Theological Seminar that used to be in Homer, that was, at what we have now, is a historic landmark now, but that's where it used to be at. And that's where everybody go now to see their family history. It used to be the Homer Academy. But now, the Homer Academy now is where we go and look up all of our history as Black people on Rousseau Street. That's where United Theological Seminary branch used to be out of Monroe, Louisiana. So when you talk about being molded, a lot of things have shaped me. A lot of people have shaped me. Think about the people that shape you. Think about the bad ones first as we close this out. So you can go to bed tonight or go do whatever you got to do tonight before you go to bed to get ready for work tomorrow, whatever. Think about the bad ones because that was the purpose that God, we consider BAONES, those people, persons, however you want to classify them. Before you think about the GOODONES, the good ones. Yeah, I'm spelling tonight for purpose. Because when you think about those first, those are the ones that help establish, to excavate, to survey, to find, to put you, to begin to build your foundation, that you finally got to the good ones because they portrayed, they played the good guys till you finally got to the real good guys. They help you to recognize what and who really was good. You can close it out.
So we love you all. We'll see you on Saturday. Have a great night. Those of you who wish to join us tomorrow night for Fire for Your Bible study, we'll see you at 6:30 on tomorrow night. We love you all. Have a great night. God bless you. Love you.